Hey guys, welcome back to the part 3 of the adventures of the Sherlock Holmes. So, this is the chapter 1, A Scandal in Bohemia. So, welcome to part 3. Last time in part 2 we stopped till here. So, let's continue from this page. So, the question was there secret marriage or any legal papers? None. Then I don't see why are you so worried. Even if she tries to blackmail you, there is no way to prove the authenticity of the letters, Sherlock inquired. My writing forged, my private paper stolen, my seal copied, my photograph bought. We are both in the photograph. I was young then and insane. I was just a crown prince and made a folly. Now I realize my mistake, said the king. Then your majesty is in trouble. You must buy the photograph from her, Sherlock advised. She will not sell it, and I have tried stealing it too, 5 times without results. The king looked upset. The king explained how Irene Adler was threatening him to send the photograph to the Scandinavian king whose daughter he was to marry, and how the Scandinavian king would break the engagement. The family had very strict principles, and the girl was very delicate and steadfast. Even a blemish on the king's name would end the matter. He further said that he knew Irene would send the photograph as she had a soul of steel. Irene, according to the king, had a beautiful face but an evil mind. She would do anything to stop the king from marrying any other woman. Sherlock asked, Are you sure she hasn't sent the photograph yet? She said she will send it on the day of the betrothal is announced publicly, which is on next Monday. We have 3 days then to find her. Will you be staying in London for now? Sherlock asked the king. Yes, I am staying at the Langham under the name of Count von Kram. Sherlock and the king discussed the formalities of the case, and the king gave Sherlock £1,000 for expenses. Sherlock gave him a receipt for the same and asked for address of Irene Adler. The king gave the same and Sherlock wrote it down. Sherlock bade him farewell and told me to visit him at 3 p.m. next day. With that, the king and I both left our respective lodgings. The next day at 3 p.m. sharp, I was at Sherlock's door, but he was not home. The landlady let me and sat in an armchair with every intention of waiting as long as it took for Sherlock to arrive. I was interested in this case and wanted to know what Sherlock could find about Irene. Though this case was different from the usual grim and strange features, yet the nature of it attracted me. The position of the client gave the case a character of its own. Apart from the way Sherlock was going to investigate the case, his keen observation and direct reasoning made the case very interesting study. He arrived around 4 p.m. in the disguise of a drunken-looking, ill-dressed worker. He nodded to me and vanished in his room. 5 minutes later, he came out to clean and dressed in a suit. I assumed Sherlock had spent his morning watching the habits of the house of Miss Irene Adler. Sherlock smiled then and went on to tell me the details. I went to Irene's house at 8 o'clock in the morning, dressed as a person without work. I found her house easily enough. The house was a villa with a garden at the back, and it had 2 stories with a large, well-furnished sitting room on the right side. It looked nice with long windows. Remarkable about the house, I waited near the house and found that Miss Irene only seldom left her house apart from when she sang at the opera. She only had one visitor, Mr. Godfrey Norton, who was a lawyer. He visited at least once every day. He was dark and remarkably handsome man. I was looking around the house when a cab drove up to the house and the man stepped out. It was Mr. Norton. He rushed in the house and I could see glimpses of him from the window. About half an hour later he left, took a cab and asked it to drive to the church. Then Miss Irene left the house, hired a cab and left the church too, Sherlock narrated. He continued, I wondered whether I should follow them or wait there when a cab drove down the street, and I quickly got into it. I told the driver to drive me up to the church of St. Monica, where these two had gone. Upon reaching there, I saw that they had already reached the church and were standing at the altar. When they saw me, Norton came to me and half dragged me into altar, and I was made a witness to the marriage of Godfrey Norton and Irene Adler. Sherlock then told me that he required my help that evening. He had a plan that would end in him being admitted in Irene Adler's house. I was to stand near the living room window, and when Sherlock gave the signal, throw in a package that he gave me, raise a cry of fire. It seemed simple to me. Sherlock went to his bedroom and came back in another disguise. So this was the part 3 of the chapter 1, A Scandal in Bohemia, from the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So I'll see you in part 4 of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, chapter 1, Scandal in Bohemia. Thanks for watching. Bye.